welcome to the Laguna Woods Democratic Club. We are happy to have you with us tonight, and it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Marlena Trung, who is the president of the OC chapter of the National Women's Political Caucus. Marlena is also the district representative for California Senator Tom Umberg. Marlena will have 10 minutes to tell you about NWPC and to answer any questions you might have. Welcome, Marlena. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. My name is Marlena Trung. As Sue said, I'm the president of the National Women's Political Caucus of Orange County. As the name suggests, it is a national organization. Our goal is to identify, train, and elect progressive pro-choice women to all levels of elected and appointed office. A little bit of a mouthful, but try saying that in one breath. It's a little difficult. So we spend a lot of our time interviewing women, choosing to endorse them if they align with our bottom line issues, financially contributing to them, even in years during COVID when it was a little bit difficult, but we do our best. As well as having events where we do host, our endorsed candidates, our local elected officials, connecting them with our members, as well as trying to keep our members apprised of what's going on in the world of politics, which is always filled with drama. Obviously, with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, reproductive rights, well, for myself, it never really went away, but, it's top of mind for a lot of us. I remember that day vividly. As you mentioned, I do work for State Senator Tom Umberg, who is, a great defender of reproductive rights. We all kind of came into the office and had a mutual cry. That was a really dark day for us, and I think it has awakened in a lot of people the importance of electing people on the local level. So we know that on the federal level, we can't really, at the moment, with the overturning Roe v. Wade, count on our protections at the federal level, so that just gives the importance of why we need to really pay attention and be very picky with our state legislature, our school boards, our boards of education, and our city councils. We've got to be really picky about who we're electing, ask them what they believe and why and how and all the things, because this is literally a matter of life and death for some people. It makes me think of, the LGBTQ plus community. I'm sure you're all very aware of what's going on with the Orange School Board, how they're literally trying to out trans kids and do away with the state mandated sex ed education. It's just not going in a great direction. So I think that's what's really important about orgs like NWPC and local Dem clubs, because we're the ones who are kind of doing the grassroots work. We're the ones who are phone banking, text banking, canvassing, getting the word out, because, as fired up as we are, the usually average people don't give a shit about politics. It's a lot of things that, they figure, Thanksgiving's coming up, so it's we don't talk about politics. But it affects a lot of aspects of our everyday lives, particularly if you are a woman, if you are LGBTQ+, if you are a person of color. This is stuff that has been top of mind for us always and has never really gone away. So I think that really stresses the importance of, why it's important we elect progressive pro-choice women and our male allies to ensure that those rights are protected, that they advocate for us, and make sure that we are advocating for these communities, both the local and the state and eventually the federal level. So if we can kind of harness that energy, elect more pro-choice progressive women to Congress, and maybe, so that because it's not protected at the federal level anymore, bring it back. I did make a joke to Dom Jones earlier, and I forgot to make the joke in the beginning. With the rolling back of overturn of Roe v. Wade, overturning of Roe v. Wade, it's as if the federal government just said, just kidding. There was years and years of work done and progress made, and we're just seeing the rights and progress and history just being rolled back. I know, for example, in the state of California, we're trying really hard to put in legislation that will protect people coming from other states where these rights are not protected. So if they come from, a state like Texas or Georgia, and they seek reproductive help, it makes it so that when they go back to their home state, they can't get in trouble for that. They can't be prosecuted. The doctors or anyone transporting them or anything like that can't get in trouble for that. So I know that the state of California, we live here, is a pretty nice place to be in terms of reproductive rights. But I think the state of California, our state legislatures are trying to extend some of those protections and freedoms to the best way, as much as we can. Again, I think that's why it's so important that we have people who do step up and do run for office. I'm sure you all have heard that statistic. It takes at least 7 times to ask a woman to run for office for her to even consider it. One of my former board members, she made this joke on a Zoom panel, which she was moderating. And she said, sometimes you just have men, they wake up, they have a sandwich, and they figure, I'm going to run for president. And that was 2020, so we all know who we were thinking of. But for women, it's much more difficult. We start to think, I'm not good enough, I'm not qualified enough, I've got the kids, the family, I'm a caretaker, all these things where we kind of discount ourselves. But again, that's why, the local Dem clubs and groups like NWPC are so important, because we uplift these women and we remind other women that, like, hey, there's a woman my age running for office, there's someone with my cultural background who's doing it, where it may not really be okay, in these conversations to have. So we make it more normal and we encourage more women to run. So that way we know that we have better representation. And to make sure that we are advocating for those rights at all levels of government, especially at the state level. I do obviously work for a state senator, so I'm a little bit biased there, but can talk offline if you have any questions about that. With that, I think, obviously, we know that campaigns are run on money and run on people, but mostly money. And part of what we do is we do financially contribute to our candidates. Someone actually asked me recently, is this your full-time job? And I kind of laughed because I thought, no, this would be great, but I have a full-time job and I do this for fun because I really care. And so all the money that gets donated through memberships, through PAC donations, goes directly towards helping our candidates. So that means a few extra lawn signs, or a canvasser can go for an extra 2 hours walking precincts. So if y'all are interested in getting involved, we're always looking for new members. We're always looking for new board members to help us out. We have a few board members who are looking to transition out, and so I could always use more help, more hands, make for lighter work. Additionally, and I'll kind of close with this, we do have a holiday party happening, luckily not the same date as y'all's, which I was very happy. It is December 1st in Santa Ana. It's a little far, I know, but we're going to be doing, wearing our ugly Christmas holiday sweaters, decorating gingerbread cookies, and doing a white elephant, as well as drinking a lot of booze and eating. So that's my spiel. I can answer any questions if you all have, but thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the cues to go slower.
Who are some of the candidates you are especially excited about supporting in the primary? I like that question.
So we just started interviews in the last month. I haven't sent out their endorsement letters just yet, so just keep this a secret. But we have endorsed Nancy Watkins for Board of Education. Yes, she's pretty great, as well as Frances Marquez for Board of Supervisors. So we are very happy to support them. We have supported Frances Marquez in past, and so we're really hoping to get those women elected.
Okay, another good question. Can you speak to your group's view on how women's rights issues may slant the general election in our favor?
Well, I was not prepared for that. How it will slant the general election in our favor.
I guess, is it how big an issue is it really for voters?
I think, as I mentioned, with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, for a lot of people, it's probably top 2, maybe even top 1. I think, we recently saw that there was elections in other parts of the country where people lost their seats purely based on their stance of reproductive rights and abortion access. So I think it's really important. I know that, several of the candidates running for U.S. Senate are pro-choice. And for me, that's kind of the biggest issue I consider when I find a candidate. Are they pro-choice? Yes, and the other person isn't. So.
Okay. What should be done to increase affordable childcare?
Childcare is one of our bottom line issues. It's, the biggest one is reproductive rights and access to abortion, but childcare is a big one. Obviously, that has to do with, a woman's ability to have the flexibility to run for office and work. But a lot of this has to do with legislation. So like I mentioned, I'm biased to the state legislature. If we put in bills that allocate specific funding for it and assuming that the governor signs it, that's also a really important part because that part doesn't always happen. That funding is set aside to go towards programs that we can provide for childcare for women. That is my first answer, yeah.
Okay. What is NWCP's process for selecting candidates to support?
So we have a questionnaire that candidates fill out, and then our PAC chair, she schedules an interview. We do Zoom interviews only, and then we as a board decide whether or not we want to endorse. Usually it's pretty straightforward, especially if there's only one pro-choice woman running, and we think they align with our bottom line issues, we'll go with them. There are times we do have to get more into discussion, particularly around the right of parental consent. That's sometimes the issue that kind of splits some hairs. But after we decide to endorse, then we give them an official letter. We add them to our website, and then they have access to our logo and our membership as well, so they can, go out and ask for money.
One last question. How can the pay gap between men and women be closed or at least reduced?
I feel like I'm the one running for office now, which I do plan to do, so I appreciate that question so that I can get used to these kinds of questions. I think initially thinking, there may be framework we can give to certain levels. There are these levels of payments, like certain, what's it called? What is that? What is the word I'm looking for? Yes, thank you. Certain brackets. So like you can't go above X amount level. I also think that we just kind of normalize women making a lot of money. It doesn't make it, that kind of implicit bias to just offer them less will no longer be there. If we see, hey, there's badass women out there making a ton of money, that just becomes a norm. So kind of, part of that of like making it a norm. We see women making a lot more money or the same amount of money. We have all these comparisons. I think a lot of it is education as well. If we, a lot of these roles that I don't know about where I'm like, oh, he's making a lot more than her. I wouldn't have even known, one, that position exists, and two, what their salaries look like. So the more we talk about it, that's also a way of kind of overcoming that.
Thank you very much, Marlena, for taking time from your busy schedule to talk to us today. And the board will definitely consider a donation to National Women's Political Caucus at our next monthly meeting. And just for everybody's information, the two women that Marlena mentioned, Nancy Watkins for OC Board of Ed and Frances Marquez for OC Board of Supervisors, they're not running in our district, but the board did make donations to both of them, and they are endorsed by the Democratic Party of Orange County. So if you're interested in the Board of Ed or Board of Supervisors, you can Google them and find out how you can help them with their campaign. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Giovanni Chavez, who is going to talk about the Fight for Our Future, California's Next Generation of Progressive Leaders. Giovanni's the son of Mexican immigrants and a proud union attorney. In addition to being president of the California Young Democrats, he's a member of the Democratic Party of Orange County's Central Committee, where he serves as chair of the Youth Committee. Some of us have known Gio, as we used to call him, Giovanni, since he was a student and member of the UCI College Dems. Then president of their club, Manny Chavez, asked our club for a donation so that they could have a pizza party to attract new members. So we gave them some money, and we've been contributing to college Dem clubs and young Dems ever since then. Manny is now a Costa Mesa City Council member. Another member, Cassius Rutherford, is now the president of Costa Mesa Dems, and Giovanni is now the president of the California Young Democrats. I'd say that was pizza money well spent. Please join me in welcoming Giovanni.
Good evening, Laguna Woods Democrats. How are we? For those that don't know me, I'm Giovanni Chavez, president of the California Young Democrats and now a union attorney. I'm the son of Mexican immigrants. My father installed carpet for a living. My mother was a caregiver. So came from very humble beginnings. I never really thought political activism was an avenue for me. I used to take 2 buses to and from school. Spanish was my first language. And I remember the summer of 2015, the UC Irvine Democrats had been vacant for a couple of years. We had 2 young Democrat clubs in Orange County. And with friends such as Luis Aleman here, we restarted the College Democrats at UC Irvine. And Luis actually invited me to my first Democrat club meeting ever. I had never really been to a Democratic club. I didn't know what a Democratic club was about. And you want to know what club that was? That was the Laguna Woods Democratic Club. And just this sense of camaraderie, the open hands with which folks took us in was truly, truly life-changing. I remember Linda Nearing, bless her soul, Sue, and so many names, I can't even begin to mention everyone. Just took us in with open arms. One thing led to another. I started working campaigns. I went to law school. I became a lawyer. And soon, those 2 young Democrat clubs in Orange County turned to 3. Soon those 3 turned to 4, turned to 5, turned to 6, turned to 7, 8, 9. And soon, young Democrats in Orange County were leading the way around the state. And I'm the 2nd president from Orange County for the Young Democrats in our history. I'm the first since Tim Steed in 2008. So I'm excited. I don't know if you're excited, but I'm excited for this momentum we built here in Orange County. And I got elected in May, so it's been about 6 months now, and we've hit the ground running. We've grown in every metric. We've grown in our membership. We've grown in our fundraising base. We've grown in record amounts in our partnership with progressive organizations, elected officials, and the House of Labor. And just to put that into proportion, from 2018 to 2023, the California Young Democrats lost more and more Young Democrat chapters every year. And in my first e-board in Visalia, which Laguna Woods contributed to, so thank you for that sponsorship, we established 5 new Young Democrat chapters. This past convention, we're establishing another 5 because 2024 and onward, these are going to be very, very, very important elections, and we have to make sure that we are mobilized and organized. So we're working on that fight. And the importance of getting young folks involved, a lot of it stems from the fact that a lot of young people, they're facing an unsustainable reality. There's soaring home prices, crippling student debt, climate change that threatens a lot of our livelihoods. And just from talking to young folks, sometimes it's hard to get involved. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what clubs to go to. You don't know how parties operate and whatnot. So a big effort that the California Young Democrats have taken on is empowering young Democrats to be leaders in their own right. Yes, we love canvassing and phone banking, and we'll be happy to do it with you, but we also want to make sure we have young Democrats in positions of leadership. So one of the things we've been doing is currently we have no DNC members in the e-board for the state party. So we're running 2 DNC members, Jason Park and Navkaran Gurm, making the rounds, trying to get them elected to the DNC so we can have representation at the national level. Also, Central Committee. We all talked about Central Committee candidates here. Central Committee is an incredible way for young folks to get involved in their local communities, but not only the local community, but the statewide level, because every county party gets allocated delegates at a statewide level. So what we're doing at the California Young Democrats is we're recruiting young Democrats to run statewide. We have about 15 young Democrats running in Orange County. We have 60 or 70 statewide, and we're trying to push those numbers up to 100 because we need young Democrats involved at the local level and statewide. We need more young folks involved in the process to continue to build that pipeline of progressive leadership. And another thing we're really trying to empower young Dems is young Democrats running for local office. The California Democrats, we've done a pretty good job at this in the past. Last year, we elected 2 of our officers to be elected officials. Nabil Kirfan in the Central Valley is now a school board member, and AJ Valenzuela became an Oxnard City Council member. And we have a couple other folks that are looking to throw their hat in the ring, and we want to continue to elect young Democrats to local office. And as many of you here know, you can't do everything alone. You need your partners. You need to find like-minded organizations to share resources with. So one of the things we've really valued is these partnerships. For example, we teamed up with the California Faculty Association. They were organizing against CSU tuition hikes, and we contacted all Long Beach young Democrats in the area and the Cal State Fullerton Dems, and a lot of them went out there to protest the tuition hikes. Also, we partnered up with the National Union of Healthcare Workers. They were passing a healthcare bill. We lobbied our legislators in Sacramento. We made phone calls. We showed up to their conventions and whatnot. We're really building these strong partnerships because, yes, we like sponsors. Money helps us, but at the end of the day, it's really those partnerships, that sense of family, those sense of common interest that really unites us all together. So partnerships has been incredibly, incredibly huge for us. And a lot of this is going to be important when we start our field program for 2024. We just got through our endorsing convention, and we still have to finish doing our endorsements, but we're partnering up with other Democratic clubs and other Democratic organizations. We've already talked to Senate Dems, Assembly Dems, Grassroots Dems HQ, and each one of these has different races they're prioritizing within the field they cover. So for Assembly Dems, one of the races they're really big on is Chris Duncan, which is here in our backyard. The Senate Dems, one of the names they brought up was Josh Newman. So it kind of helps a little bit when you're the statewide president of Orange County, which has plenty of battleground races that we can always cover. So one of the things I've been looking at is when we're starting our field program is, well, we already have all these Democratic organizations that specialize in field, and while we're recruiting all these young Democrats and growing our membership, the easiest thing to do is to send all our young Dems to these clubs, target these races, work together. There's no need to get territorial when we're on the same side. So we really are valuing these partnerships when it comes to our field as well. And one of the big things we've seen just after COVID is this big knowledge gap with young Democrats. A lot of college students, high school students, they're behind a Zoom computer for a couple of years, so organizing was a lot different. A lot of them didn't learn how to organize or fundraise or do communications the way some of us did. So we've really been breaking it back down to basics. At the endorsing convention this past weekend, we did trainings on everything: comms, fundraising, organizing, and we're going to do a lot more of those. We did some Zoom trainings as well for young Democrats running for Central Committee, and it's truly remarkable. A lot of times, in order to get folks to run for things, all you have to do is be like, hey, well, there's this position you can run for. A lot of us are in these, insider Democratic groups, but there's a lot of people out there that don't really know what a Democratic Party does. They don't really know what a Democratic Club does. They don't really know what a Central Committee does. So just having those conversations, having those trainings of just new young Dems who it's their first meeting ever, it really makes a huge difference. It made a huge difference for me when I first came to the Laguna Woods Democratic Club. And another thing I wanted to touch on was just the incredible alumni we have at the California Young Democrats. This is an organization that's existed for 91 years. You look everywhere. San Fernando Valley Young Democrats, U.S. Senator Alex Padilla started that club. Riverside County Young Democrats, Assemblymember Sabrina Cervantes started that club. And we just have this rich history where you go to any Democratic club, you go to any labor organization, you go to any progressive organization in general, like you will find a California Young Democrats alumni there. So we've really been working on bringing back this family. We did a CYD alumni reception at the convention. We plan on doing more events like this, hopefully some sort of awards dinner or something of that nature. Tim Steed, through the Orange County Employees Association, has been very helpful to the Young Democrats. So we really want to continue to build these networks. And at the end of the day, when I talk about empowering Young Democrats, it's really about building the next progressive generation of leadership, building that pipeline, getting folks to go from high school to college to young professionals, from young professionals to non-young Dems, and always staying in our party, always being part of that family. And sometimes, you know, I had some media reporters were trying to talk to me, and they're, you know, trying to get some dirt on Biden. They're like, oh, what do you think about Joe Biden? What do you think about Joe Biden? And I said, I love Joe Biden. Joe Biden gave us COVID relief. Joe Biden rebuilt infrastructure. That impacts a lot of young people. Joe Biden's tackling climate change. That impacts young people. Joe Biden is giving young folks like me a chance to reduce our crippling student debt. That impacts young people. So when they say, what do you think about Joe Biden? I say, I'm excited about Joe Biden. I want Joe Biden to get reelected. I'm going to work hard to get Joe Biden reelected. So let's continue to mobilize. Let's continue to organize. Let's continue to build this Democratic Party family, because we have a lot of fights ahead of us. We have a lot of common interests. And we want to continue to build that pipeline, because that pipeline, to build the next progressive leadership, that benefits all of us, because somebody starts off Young Democrats and they stay in the Democratic Party as a non-Young Democrat, and we keep them here forever, and we just continue to grow and get new ground. So thank you all for having me, and happy to answer any questions.
Oh, okay. How will you, or how can we ensure that young people vote and vote Democratic? You hear a lot about young people don't turn out to vote. Is that true, and what do we do about it?
Yeah, I remember my first Young Democrat meetings. It was like 14 people at the Orange County Young Democrats. And then this was before Trump, which, you know, we all miss those days, right? And then Trump got elected, and I went to my next Orange County Young Democrats meeting. It was 100 people in the room. Just like, what's going on here, right? And then a lot of the pundits said, oh, well, they're only turning out because it's in 2018 we had pretty good Young Democrat turnout. They're only turning out because Trump. They're only turning out because of Trump. And then 2022, we did almost the same exact thing without Trump in the ballot. So what do I think? I think that a lot of young people know that democracy can't be taken for granted, because we've seen the consequences of that. And I think young people will continue to get involved. Young people will continue to vote. And we're going to have a high youth turnout in this election. That doesn't mean we're going to take it for granted, right? We're still going to do the work to make sure that happens. But I think it's happening. And I'm excited for it.
Okay, so there are several questions along the theme of how do we reach out to young people? What colleges, for example, are there young Democrat clubs, and how do we find out, and what are the rules, for example, for getting onto college campuses to do our own work and advertising, for example, our meetings? Because I think it would be great to have a lot of young people come to our club's meetings. We have some really excellent meetings that are not boring at all. So what can you tell us about how to reach out to young people?
Yeah, well, thankfully in Orange County we had a little bit of a slump during COVID, but we've brought up our chapters back to the way they are. We have a Chapman University Democratic Club. We have Orange County Young Democrats, Latino Young Democrats of Orange County. We actually Parshan Khosravi, who's running for Central Committee in this district, just started a Canyon Young Democrat. So we're excited to see what a South OC Young Dem chapter can do. There's an Orange Coast College Democrats. There's a Fullerton College Democrats. There's the Cal State Fullerton Democratic Club. So those are just the ones off the top of my head. But I can connect you too with Jeannie Lay. She's our regional director here in the region and kind of operates the same way like a state party regional director operates, connects with all the clubs and whatnot. I can connect you with them, but I'm sure the clubs would be more than happy to join you. We're always trying to start new chapters, get even more members. Obviously, the rules are probably going to be different from school to school, but in Orange County, we actually don't have a high school Young Democrats chapter right now. We used to have one. We used to have an Orange County High School Dems in 2017. We had a Santa Ana High School Dems in 2021. And I just spoke to some high schoolers yesterday. They said they were interested in starting a Huntington Beach High School Dem, so we're excited for that. But yeah, if anybody knows any high schoolers, let me know. But from what I've seen, there's energy everywhere. Young Dems are more than happy to work with you in their efforts.
Another question, how important is modern technology in elections, and how do we use that technology to reach out to young folks?
I think we all got to start a TikTok, right? Well, social media is everything, and especially for us young folks, like a lot of us don't have really the money to compete with a lot of other organizations. So that is everything for us. Like in California Young Dems, we've really been tackling social media. We've been doing a lot of Facebook, a lot of Instagram, a lot of Twitter. It's been going pretty well for us. And one thing a friend told me is always meet people where they are. I didn't have a TikTok until 2 months ago, and it was just millennial. I'm not a Gen Zer, so I guess I'm not part of the trend either. But yeah, meeting people where they are. If you don't have those social media accounts yet, maybe building one, learning how to use it. I'm still learning how to use different social media apps myself, but that's something I think we've done a really good job on. I've had a lot of people go up to me and say, "I'm always getting your emails." And that's usually a good sign for me because, if you annoy enough people with enough emails, then you get them involved in the organization. So just meeting people where they are.
Okay, a couple of people are asking about what the priorities, what the major issues are for young people. Can you speak to that, please?
There's so many issues. We actually, we just adopted a new platform at our Visalia e-board meeting in August. The California Democrats, we adopt a platform every 2 years. This is the most progressive platform we've ever adopted for the Young Democrats. Issues on it are housing, labor, the environment, homelessness, women's rights, LGBTQ plus rights, essentially everything, all our Democrats believe in. I think we have a lot of similarly core aligned values. I think we've done a remarkable job at the Young Democrats on specifically the labor space. We've really partnered up with a lot of labor unions and brought back a lot of the House of Labor allies that we used to have. One of the bills we were really passionate about was unionizing legislative staff because, we advocate for unions everywhere, and for the longest time, there was an exception in our state law that didn't allow staff for the state legislator, so folks who work for state assembly members, the state senate, to be unionized themselves. I remember that got killed last year, and we just kept fighting. And we now have the right to unionize for legislative staff, so we're happy about that. We're happy about that. California is leading the way. We increased the minimum wage for fast food workers too, and we're just going to continue to fight inch by inch.
A couple of folks wanted to know what age group we're talking about when we talk about young Democrats.
Yeah. Young Democrats, it's a pretty broad window. It's 14 to 35. Somebody was telling me I was close to aging out. I'm still 28. I have like 7 more years. Come on. Yeah, I mean, you can start off in high school and start a Democrat club there. Then we'll get you to start a Democrat club in college, and then we'll get you to start a Democrat club when you're a young professional, and then when you're not a YD, we'll get you to join another Democratic club. So let's build that pipeline.
Okay, there's a question about teaching civics. Their civics are taught in schools, or that's the rumor. I don't know that that's true everywhere, but what are your thoughts about teaching about the way young people are educated about civics today?
Yeah, I think civics are very important, particularly with what's been happening at these school board meetings. Youth are under attack. We've all seen this. Like, we have book bans. Young folks are getting attacked for their identities. All these like weird critical race theory attacks we've seen at the school board level. And a lot of our young Democrat clubs are actually taking the lead on this effort. We have the Chino Valley Young Dems going to their school board meetings and organizing there. Fontana Young Democrats doing the same thing at their school board meetings. And my hope is that we bring more of that to Orange County. Start building some high school Democratic chapters here and take the fight there, because we can't let folks attack the youth. And high schoolers have a huge stake in this.
This questioner is asking about the appearance on Univision that was an interview with the former president, sponsored by an ultra-rich done by an ultra-rich Mexican guy. And the question is, what can young Democrats do to expose the bias and to, well, I guess the question is more about, because it was a Spanish language interview, what role can young Democrats have in counteracting the lies and the deception in interviews and propaganda, such as what happened on Univision?
Yeah. I've had my own experiences with that. Just when I talk to reporters or media, it kind of seems like they're always trying to get the flashiest story, when it bleeds, it leads type thing. And so I've always had to be careful with my words, just because I know we're representing the Democratic Party here. But I think the biggest thing is really, a lot of it's going to come down to defeating this MAGA extremism. We're at a point in time where a party is utterly and completely based on conspiracy theories and attacking democracy and the truth. And only through defeating them decisively will they have to go to the mirror, do some self-analyzing, and really clean that party up, because at this point it's getting ugly. I think a lot of us are seeing the same thing. So that's why 2024 is going to be a consequential election, probably going to be the most consequential election since 1860, and we all have to be ready for that fight.
So there are a couple of questions regarding the presidential election, and what do you see as the best ways to ensure that young people understand the importance of the election and that they vote for Biden so that we don't, or that they vote, yeah, so that they don't, they vote for Biden so that they don't split the vote among various other non-Republican candidates, and that we get Biden reelected.
I think we just have to show young folks just how much we've gained through electing Democrats. I mentioned earlier how like my crippling student debt got reduced. I went to law school, so I got a lot of loans. And Biden implemented the SAFE plan. I'm paying less than half a month of what I would have had to pay before that. So there are real tangible changes here. Like, he's tackling climate change stronger than any other president in history. This is a big deal for young people. He's rebuilding infrastructure. That's the roads we're going to drive in as young folks. Those are the buildings we're going to occupy as young folks. So just showing young people the tangible differences that these elections make, just how much he's impacted their lives. I know things can get kind of muddy with a lot of the misinformation out there, but we have to continue to sell this point because at the end of the day, I mean, Biden's been one of the most consequential presidents in our history. And we just have to make that so.
What can we older clubs do to help mentor young Democrats?
I think working together, whether that's showing up to another Young Democrats meeting, showing up to their campuses or whatnot, meeting them where they're at, that could be a great way. I feel like sometimes a lot of the Young Democrats stay at the Young Democrat meetings and a lot of the non-Young Dems stay at the non-Young Dems meetings. So just more collaboration with one another. One of the things that's worked wonders with us has been usually we have these conventions and e-board meetings like every 2 or 3 months. So usually we'll do fundraisers. And when we like see our partners really stepping up for us, like that really means a lot to us. So just continue to support in any way. And I think that would pay large dividends.
Does your organization have any plans to help elect Biden outside of California in battleground states?
Yes, we do. In addition to being chartered with the California Democratic Party, the California Young Democrats are also chartered with the Young Democrats of America. I'm actually going to Virginia this next weekend for our state leadership meeting there. And we plan on doing some day of actions together with some of these swing states. These other states are going to be very, very important in making sure that we re-elect Biden. And also the Grassroots Dems of HQ, which is another one of our allies. They do a lot of work in other states, and they're kind of the one we work with on congressional races. And they help us on resources on training young Democrats on field, because that's what they specialize in. And yeah, we're absolutely going to target these swing states because they're going to be incredibly important. And it's going to be a few thousand votes that determine the course of the next generation.
What was the name of that other organization?
Grassroots Democrats HQ. And I can connect you with them too.
Anybody else have a question?
Okay. The question is, should we send more pizza?
Pizza's fine, but you know, once you're on that campaign diet for a while, it's pizza every day. So just mix it up, you know, send us some tacos here and there. Some chicken nuggets would be pretty good here and there as well. So get creative.
Okay. What is the history and status of the local federal House district, incumbents and candidates?
There's an election coming up.
Yes.
I want to know who to vote for. I want to know what.
I'm sorry, I actually did say that at the beginning. For Congress, Dave Min was endorsed for the 47th. It depends where you live in Laguna Woods. Most of us do not live in the 47th. Most of us live in the 40th. And in the 40th, there was no endorsement. We have two candidates, Allison DeMichelis and Joe Kerr. It is possible that we will suggest one over the other, but that's not sure. Okay. Now, as far as knowing who to vote for, well, Dom Jones is here. She was here. She's running for assembly in our district, and so we suggest voting for her. Josh Newman is running for state senate in our district, so we suggest voting for him. The Democratic Club has a committee which will look at all the candidates in all the way down to Central Committee candidates and also City Council candidates and school board. And we, for each election, we put out door hangers and we put them on the doors of every registered Democrat and every registered NPP, and that is before the election, so that you will have a guide. All right. Okay. Allison DeMichelis and Joe Kerr are the two Democratic candidates in Congressional District 40, where most of Laguna Woods is. It will be a very difficult race because the district is more Republican than Democrat. So it's an uphill battle. However, that doesn't mean that we can't do it, because if we get enough independents, NPPs coming over to the Democratic side, then we can do it. It's all about getting out the vote. Democrats traditionally do not get out to vote as much as Republicans, and we need to make sure that every Democrat gets out to vote. We do not have that problem in Laguna Woods. Laguna Woods typically has 80 to 88% turnout, so we do a great job in Laguna Woods, okay? And Democratic candidates have traditionally, in the last few elections, done very well in Laguna Woods. But the county is a lot bigger than Laguna Woods, okay? And so we need to give money, support efforts. We need to support our candidates so that they can be successful in the other cities in their districts as well. And you're right, we used to have 4, now we have only 2.5. Okay, we have Alan Lowenthal and Mike Levin and Katie Porter.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, and as I said, at our January 16th meeting, we hope to have as many as possible of those candidates here so that you can see them again. Okay? And we hope to also have a meeting at the towers where they will appear, so that you will have 2 opportunities to see them again. And that meeting will be recorded and will be on television in February, so that there will be plenty of time for you to see it on television if you can't come to the actual meeting. Oh, and sorry, yes, Jonathan mentioned we also put an ad in the Globe for the 4 weeks prior to the election with the candidates that we recommend. So you can look for that. It's always a half-page vertical ad, and you know, you have to look for it. There's a lot of ads in the Globe. So, and we can't usually afford color, but we'll see. Okay. I think that that is it. I want to thank you all for being here tonight, for attending. I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving, And please join us for our holiday party on December 12th in Clubhouse 7. And Sue Snyder still has her basket if you want to stop and give something for World Central Kitchen on your way out. Checks can be made out to World Central Kitchen. And we will also be taking up that collection in December. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Another round of applause for Marlena and for Giovanni. Thank you so much.